Hi, I'm Nancy, and we're in the Upside Down. Woo! This time, turn your computer upside down. Good job! You succeeded.
And now we begin. Hey, look at that. Book report's due 2 weeks from today. If you're wanting to turn in early, you have until next Friday at some point. You should probably stop reading your book report book or start reading your book report book, for those of you who are trying to really cut it close. Once again, the poetry test, if you want to do it, it is on my website. It is up to you to download it and then print it and then do the test corrections. I will try to get them graded fairly quickly and put onto Skyward to try and help you out so your parents can stop yelling at you to sleep every night. I did, for you guys, also upload the audiobooks last night, so if you want to listen to someone reading or doing the audiobooks of The Outsiders, I uploaded those. So now you can go on there at the bottom of it, you scroll all the way down, it has audiobooks for each chapter. You can go clicky, clicky, listen. And then the ebook version just makes you use it at home, not in class. Pretty good there. Outsiders, yay! Then, as we go through, I will be telling you where I stopped when I have my parts that I connect to people. And then as we finish parts, I'll have you guys sort of say the connections you find. Or if you just really hate writing in your book and saying Gesundheit, then you won't have to worry about it as much. We're going to start on page 1, where it says chapter 1. I think we talked about yesterday, it introduces Paul Newman. I mentioned you guys yesterday. And how do you guys know Paul Newman?
From the
That's another name
it was
for
for salad.
salad dressing. I mean, maybe in your house you put syrup on your lettuce, and then also he was who?
Cars.
The cars and stuff like that. And then also the syrup that we put on our lettuce and stuff like that. I know I'm trying something new for lunch today. There we go. There's Paul. Chapter 1. When I stepped out into the bright sunlight from the darkness of the movie house, I had only 2 things on my mind: Paul Newman and a ride home. I was wishing I looked like Paul Newman. He looks tough, and I don't. But I guess my own looks aren't so bad. I have light brown, almost red hair and greenish gray eyes. I wish they were more gray, because I hate most guys that have green eyes, but I have to be content with what I have. My hair is longer than a lot of boys wear theirs, squared off and back, and long at the front and sides, but I'm a greaser, and most of my neighborhood rarely bothers to get a haircut. Besides, I look better with long hair. I gotta stop there real quick, because there's 2 things. One, I connect them both to my life when I was in high school, where it says he looks tough and I don't. I did not look tough when I was in high school whatsoever. I was a scrawny, skinny, pretty geek. And then also the part where he says the long hair, because I also had a mullet when I was in high school. And so I had the long hair in the back and the short hair in the front. And I thought I looked good. Turns out I was wrong. I had a long walk home and no company. But I usually loan it anyway, for no reason except that I like to watch movies undisturbed, so I can get into them and live them with the actors. When I see a movie with someone, it's kind of uncomfortable. Like having someone read your book over your shoulder. I'm different that way. I mean, my second oldest brother, Soda, who's 16 going on 17, he never cracks a book at all. And my oldest brother, Daryl, who we call Derry, works too long and hard to be interested in the story or drawing a picture. So I'm not like them, and nobody in our gang digs movies and books the way I do. For a while there, I thought I was the only person in the world that did. So I loaned it. 2 quick things. His brother's name is actually Soda Pop. His parents are kind of special people. So when he calls him Soda, that's his real name. And 2, I did the part about the whole never reading a book, because my best friend in high school never read a book. His getting to me was like, if a book is good enough to be read, they'll make it into a movie, and I'll watch the movie. It drove me nuts all the time. Soda tries to understand at least, but which is more than Derry does. But then Soda's different from anybody. He understands everything, almost. Like he's never hollering at me all the time the way Derry is, or treating me as if I was 6 instead of 14. I love Soda more than I've ever loved anyone, even Mom and Dad. He's always happy-go-lucky and grinning, while Derry's hard and firm and rarely grins at all. But then, Derry's gone through a lot in his 20 years. He's grown up too fast. Soda Pop will never grow up at all. And I don't know which way's the best. I'll find out one of these days. Anyway, I went on walking home, thinking about the movie, and then suddenly wishing I had some company. greasers can't walk alone too much, or they'll get jumped, or someone will come by and scream, "Grease!" Pick up, "Greaser!" at them, which doesn't make you feel too hot, if you know what I mean. We get jumped by the Socias. Now I'm not sure how you spell it. It's the abbreviation for the socials, the jet set, the West Side rich kids. It's like the term greaser, which is used to class all us boys on the east side. We're poorer than the Socias, and the middle class, and I reckon we're wilder too. But not like the Socias, who jump greasers and wreck houses and throw beer blasts for kicks and get editorials in the paper for being a public disgrace one day and an asset to society the next. Greasers they're almost like hoods. We steal things, drive old souped up cars, hold up gas stations, and have a gang fight once in a while. I don't mean I do things like that. Derry would kill me if I got into trouble with the police. Since Mom and Dad were killed in an auto wreck, the three of us get to stay together only as long as we behave. So Soda and I stay out of trouble as much as we can. And we're careful not to get caught when we can't. I only mean that most greasers do things like that. Just like we wear our hair long and dress in blue jeans and t-shirts, or leave our shirt tails out and wear leather jackets and tennis shoes or boots. I'm not saying that either Socias or greasers are better. That's just the way things are. A couple things. One, that he talks about the whole being a hood and driving old souped up cars, stuff like that. That was my stepbrother. When I was younger, I was the preppy, nerdy one, and he was like the thuggy one that could work on cars and stuff like that. When they get into it, I'm gonna put this difference together a couple different times. This is Ponyboy, who's the main character talking to us, and that's his actual name, Ponyboy. Once again, his parents are special. And so that's the main guy telling us the story. And so it's the three brothers, Ponyboy, Soda Pop, and Derry, that are basically the center of the story. And then they have their four friends, Johnny, 2-Bit, Steve, and Dally. So I'll keep putting that one up there because it makes things easier to refer back to. No, we're not quite to it. They're going to mention in a moment a red Corvair that pulls up and starts following him. This is what the red Corvair looks like as it pulls up and starts following him. I could have waited to go to the movies until Derry or Soda Pop got off work. They would have gone with me, or driven me there, or walked along. Although Soda just can't sit still long enough to enjoy a movie. They bore Derry to death. Derry thinks his life is enough without inspecting other people's. Or I could have gotten one of the gang to come along. One of the four boys Derry and Soda and I have grown up with and consider family. We're almost as close as brothers. I mean, when you grow up in a tight-knit neighborhood like ours, you get to know each other real well. If I'd thought about it, I could have called Derry. He would have come by on his way home and picked me up. Or 2-Bit Matthews, one of our gang. He would have come to get me in his car if I'd asked him. Sometimes I just don't use my head. It drives my brother Derry nuts when I do stuff like that, because I'm supposed to be smart. I make good grades, I have a high IQ and everything, but I don't use my head. Besides, I like walking. I highlighted that part, but most kids in my dance class are supposed to be smart but don't use their heads. I about decided I didn't like it so much, though, and I spotted that red Corvair trailing me. And I was almost 2 blocks from home then, so I started walking a little faster. I'd never been jumped, but I'd seen Johnny after 4 Socias got hold of him, and it wasn't pretty. Johnny was scared of his own shadow after that. Johnny was 16 then. It's going to play a role throughout the story. Do you guys know what it means to get jumped?
Yeah.
Yes.
What's getting jumped mean?
Like,
Mahir?
okay, so when you're like walking and they just come like out of nowhere, they come up and they like beat you up.
Yeah, getting jumped is different than getting in a fight. It's where you're outnumbered and they surprise you. You know, so it can't be just like, oh, Bianca, you and I don't like each other, let's throw down. And we start punching each other. That's not the same thing. It's where you have to like wait till they walk by and then you jump out and then push them on the ground. And when on the ground, then you just start kicking them. And then you like invite all your friends to come over, like, let's all kick them together, wee! And you all start kicking them in like a big group.
How is
That's
that
getting
funny?
jumped.
Mr. Robick, that doesn't seem very fair.
It's not. It's pretty much a big fat jerk thing to do. But you might not know this, but some people are big fat jerks. And so that's what he's talking about, getting jumped. It's not, he likes getting in fights. He's like, I love getting in fights and punching people and their face goes all splatty splat, that's great. But getting jumped, not so much fun. You like laying on the ground just screaming.
We're allowed to start annotating, right?
Absolutely, that's why I keep telling you the parts I annotated. That's why I was bonding with you.
I keep just annotating the parts you say and connecting to my life.
It works too. Brush.
Have you ever been jumped?
I have not.
I do.
Once again, Twiggy person. They would have tried to jump me, and like the wind would have blown, like I would have just like floated away. Not very good. Yes.
So you're allowed. Okay, so I highlighted and like wrote stuff about the characters. Can I do that?
No, throw your book away. That's ridiculous. You should not. You can do about the character. I was saying more connecting people in your life, but if you weren't connected to the characters, I was just saying, do you know people who are like that? You could put down the part where it says high IQ, but don't always use my head. You can circle that. And put,
Oh, I need to circle that up.
and so you'd be good to go on that part. So something along those lines.
Wait, can you put like a lot more than you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't have to use mine. Those are just ones that connect to my life. Like, you might have a different part where you're like, oh, my dad drives a red car. He thinks he's so cool. And you can do the same thing. So whatever works for you might not be the same thing as me. I'm just telling you my connection because I like to share, because I like to talk. Stop judging.
I just tried to
There you go. I knew it wasn't any use, though, the fast walking. I mean, even before the Corvair pulled up beside me and 5 Socias got out, I got pretty scared. I'm kind of small for 14, even though I have a good build and those guys were bigger than me. I automatically hitched my thumbs in my jeans and slouched, wondered if I could get away if I made a break for it. The hitching your thumbs, and when you put like your thumbs like little belt buckles, you know, the whole like, I'm not good at hitching my jeans. You highlight that part. Mr. Brovicast is awful at this part. I remember Johnny, his face all cut up and bruised, and I remembered how he'd cried when we found him, half conscious, in the corner lot. Johnny had it awful rough at home. It took a lot to make him cry. See, I would highlight that and say, myself, I have no heart or emotions. So you might have more emotions than me. I was sweating something fierce. Although I was cold, I could feel my palms getting clammy and the perspiration running down my back. I get like that when I'm real scared. I glanced around for a pop bottle or a stick or something. Steve Randall, Soda's best buddy, he once held off 4 guys with a busted pop bottle. But there was nothing. So I stood there like a bump on a log while they surrounded me. I don't use my head. And they walked around slowly, silently, smiling. All right, hopefully last. The busted pop bottle, they don't mean a plastic one, because I had kids got confused, like donk, donk, donk. And then they're talking like the glass one. You smash it, and there's like a beer bottle.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure you guys do this all the time on your weekends.
Yeah.
You smash the beer bottle, and you just go stab your friends. It's like that. Same. That's what they're talking about. Pop bottles, where they were plastic, used to be glass, and you could smash them and do the stabby thing. So now we have activities for the weekend. Hey! Sorry, change voices. Hey, Grease, one said in an over-friendly voice. We're going to do you a favor, Greaser. We're going to cut all that long, greasy hair off. He had on a Madras shirt. I can still see it. Blue Madras. That's what Madras is.
Oh.
At one time, it was popular. I can still see it. Blue Madras. One of them laughed and then cussed me out in a low voice. I couldn't think of anything to say. There just isn't a whole lot you can say while waiting to get mugged, so I kept my mouth shut. Need a haircut, Greaser? The medium-sized blonde pulled a knife out of his back pocket and flipped the blade open. I finally thought of something to say. No. I was backing up, away from that knife. Of course, I backed right into one of them. They had me down in a second. They had my arms and legs pinned down, and one of them was sitting on my chest with his knees on my elbows. And if you don't think that hurts, you're crazy. I could smell English leather shaving lotion and stale tobacco. And I wondered foolishly if I'd suffocate before they did anything. I was scared so bad I was wishing I would. And I fought to get loose, and almost did for a second. And then they tightened up on me, and the one on my chest slugged me a couple times. So I lay still, swearing at them between gasps. A blade was held against my throat. How'd you like that haircut to begin just below the chin? It occurred to me then that they could kill me. I went wild. I started screaming for soda, dairy, anyone. Someone put his hand over my mouth, and I bit it as hard as I could, tasting blood running through my teeth. I heard a muttered curse and got slugged again. And then they were stuffing a handkerchief in my mouth. And one of them kept saying, "Shut him up, for Pete's sake, shut him up." And then there were shouts and the pounding of feet, and the associates jumped up and left me lying there, gasping. I lay there and wondered what in the world was happening. People were jumping over me and running by me, and I was too dazed to figure it out. And someone had me under the armpits and was hauling me to my feet. And it was Derry. "Are you all right, pony boy?" He was shaking me, and I wished he'd stop. I was dizzy enough anyway. And I could tell it was Derry, though, partly because of the voice, and partly because Derry is always rough with me without meaning to be. "I'm okay. Quit shaking me, Derry. I'm okay." He stopped instantly. "I'm sorry." He wasn't really. Derry isn't ever sorry for anything he does. It seems funny to me that he should look just exactly like my father and act exactly the opposite from him. My father was only 40 when he died. He looked 25. A lot of people thought Derry and Dad were brothers instead of father and son, but they only looked alike. My father was never rough with anyone without meaning to be. I'm going to pause right there for real quick. The smell, when he's getting jumped, what smells does he mention?
Smoke, tobacco, rich stuff.
The English leather shaving lotion and tobacco. I'm not bringing in tobacco for you. You'll just have to use your own weekend plans. But I do have English leather shaving lotion, which I went out and bought from CVS. And so you get a chance to imagine this smell. Hang on, I got to put it on. Ooh, it's a little strong. A little drop in there. I'm going to come around and let you take a snort. The idea being, imagine this is what they smell like while they're in the process of trying to kill you. And this is the last thing you get to smell.
Wait, why did they leave?
Why did they leave? Because all of his friends showed up at the last second to try and chase them away. Because he's in the process of getting beat up, but the soldiers made the poor choice of trying to beat him up too close to his house. When he was screaming for help, his friends heard.
Oh.
So this is what you get to smell.
That's
horrible. What the
Now, if it helps, this is cologne that
Pioneer
people
days.
wear by choice.
I don't know either.
How was it?
That was very, very strong.
It was too strong.
Well, I
It was like a pine
try to put the extra drops in there to give it that nice strong smell.
Oh, even I smell that.
Because that would be what you had.
I wrote that right here. I wrote it.
I
I wrote it right here.
That smells like pine trees.
Oh my god.
Once again,
It does
it
not
is
smell that bad.
cologne.
We had to stop, and she took like the entire bottle of that and just like dumped it into one of those like sushi things. So the entire thing was like
All over her scarf or something. But he's like,
And then you walk by the classroom and you smell like this.
Wait, no, the whole school just smelled like
this is
this.
so it smelled like dairy.
That's just like, oh, okay. Like, I teach in the high school.
Yeah.
Have you ever done this thing where like, it's like the wax, it's like hot wax, like you like stick your hands in it. That's smells really bad. And then you like put the gloves on, and then it gets all hard.
Yeah.
Smelly.
So there's your English leather. Oh, sorry for those of you at home. Lean in close. There you go. Ooh, doesn't that smell good? Okay. I didn't want you to miss out.
I might actually buy it just for the glass container that it comes in.
Alright. Derry is 6 feet. And Derry. Ooh, back up on that screen. Oh, as we're going through it, because he's referred to himself as being one of the greasers. If you're unfamiliar, if you've seen the old movie Grease, John Travolta, Grease Lightning, that's what they're referring to. Those were the greasers for that same time period. So those were the greasers. And then the socias, when they're referring to them, are just for your preppy people. And so I tried to type in like little preppy people. So that was your soci. And I found a soci dog. So I thought that was like would fit perfectly into the soci area.
They're the tennis players.
No, we'll come back to that one in a little bit.
Oh, I still did tennis.
You did. You're correct. Because we're going to talk about in a moment when the character's cocked his eyebrow, so the eyebrow goes up. So I'll put it up there just so you can. So in a moment they're going to talk about one of the characters cocking his eyebrow, so that your eyebrow goes up. That's when Buzz Lightyear goes into Spanish mode.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
So that was
Can't do that.
Doctor Who.
Josh, am I doing it?
It is.
Derry is 6'2", broad-shouldered, muscular. He has dark brown hair that kicks out in front and a slight cowlick in the back, just like Dad's. But Derry's eyes are his own. He's got eyes like two pieces of pale blue-green ice. They've got a determined set to them, like the rest of them. He looks older than 20. Tough, cool, smart. He'd be real handsome if his eyes weren't so cold. He doesn't understand anything that's not plain, hard fact. But he uses his head. I sat down again, rubbing my cheek where I'd been slugged the most. Derry jammed his fists in his pockets. They didn't hurt you too bad, did they? They did. I was smarting and aching, and my chest was sore, and I was so nervous. My hands were shaking, and I wanted to start bawling, but you just don't say that to Derry. I'm okay. Soda Pop came loping back, and by then I'd figured that all the noise I'd heard was the gang coming to rescue me. He dropped down beside me, examining my head. You got cut up a little, huh, Pony Boy? I only looked at him blankly. I did? He pulled out a handkerchief, wet the end of it with his tongue, and pressed it gently against the side of my head. You're bleeding like a stuck pig. I am? Look. He showed me the handkerchief, reddened as if by magic. Did they pull a blade on you? I remembered the voice. You need a haircut, greaser? The blade must have slipped while he was trying to shut me up. Yeah. Soda is handsomer than anyone else I know. I mean, not like Derry. Soda's movie star kind of handsome. The kind that people stop on the street to watch go by. I understand if you just highlighted that and just wrote down English teacher. It's fine. It happens all the time. It's not embarrassing anymore. Wow, you laugh so quickly. He's not as tall as Derry, and he's a little slimmer, but he has a finely drawn, sensitive face that somehow manages to be reckless and thoughtful at the same time. He's got dark gold hair that he combs back, long and silky and straight, and in the summer the sun bleaches it to a shining wheat gold. His eyes are dark brown, lively, dancing, recklessly laughing eyes that can be gentle and sympathetic one moment and blazing with anger the next. He has Dad's eyes, but so does one of a kind. He can get drunk in a drag race or dancing without ever getting near alcohol. In our neighborhood, it's rare to find a kid who doesn't drink once in a while, but Soda never touches a drop. He doesn't need to. He gets drunk on just plain living, and he understands everybody. Quick pause. Do you understand what he's saying when he says he can get drunk in a drag race without getting near alcohol and he gets drunk on just plain living?
No.
What does he mean then?
No.
Zoe?
He means that he's just like he just gets like all like fun and stuff, and he has like a good time. He doesn't like care as if like you were drunk, but he's just not actually.
There you go. Which is why a lot of people drink, is that way they can have fun and relax. And Soda Pop is just always relaxed and fun and enjoying himself. So that's the idea that he gets drunk on just plain living. He's just that person that's always happy, always outgoing, always having a good time. He looked at me more closely. I looked away hurriedly, because if you want to know the truth, I was starting to bawl. I knew I was as white as I felt, and I was shaking like a leaf. Soda just put his hand on my shoulder. Easy, Pony Boy. I ain't gonna hurt you no more. I know, I said, but the ground began to blur, and I felt hot tears running down my cheeks. I brushed them away impatiently. I'm just a little spooked, that's all. I drew a quivering breath and quit crying. You just don't cry in front of Derry. Not unless you're hurt like Johnny had been that day we found him in the vacant lot. Compared to Johnny, I wasn't hurt at all. Soda rubbed my hair. You're an okay kid, Pony. I had to grin at him. Soda can make you grin no matter what. And I guess it's because he's always grinning so much himself. You're crazy, Soda. You're out of your mind. Derry looked as if he'd like to knock our heads together. You're both nuts. Soda merely cocked one eyebrow, a trick he picked up from Two-Bit. No, seems to run in this family. Derry stared at him for a second, and then cracked a grin. Soda Pop isn't afraid of him like everyone else. Enjoys teasing him. I'd just as soon tease a full-grown grizzly, but for some reason, Derry seems to like being teased by Soda. Our gang had chased the Socials to their car and heaved rocks at him. They came running toward us now. 4 lean, hard guys. They were all as tough as nails and looked it. I mean, I'd grown up with them, and they accepted me, even though I was younger, because I was Derry's and Soda's kid brother, and I knew to keep my mouth shut good. Steve Randall was 17, tall and lean, with thick, greasy hair he kept combed in complicated swirls. He was cocky, smart, and so does best buddy since grade school. And we're gonna stop there because of the whole bell thing.
Is that why?
Yeah. Your homework is not to read. Go work on your book report or something else.
Heck yeah.